me. I'm just trying to log in and I'll get our speakers in as well. I see Shreya is messaging people. I see Rajiv adding you to the panel, Rajiv, and adding you as well, Shreya now. I see Swati as well, adding you, Swati. Okay, I think we are good. We have 34 people who have joined. Thank you so much for joining. So this is the day 2 of the Agentforce training, and Rajiv will continue from where he left off. And maybe let's give 1 more minute and then we can start. I see people are still joining.
Yeah, I think hello all. Let's give maybe a minute or so because I know there are few people who have reported they were unable to join the Slack uh, link. So assuming their problems are sorted, let's just give like a minute and then Rajiv, over to you. Thank you.
Meanwhile, Rogan, do you wanna talk about the second slide?
Yeah, we can do that. And also, if anyone is here from tomorrow's session and if you want to ask questions, you can drop them in the comments. And in any time during the session you feel you want to ask something, so please feel free to post it in the comments. Yeah, and so there were questions on the recording, so we'll definitely share it as well. Okay, and since we are on Slack community, so just wanted to take a moment to talk about Slack briefly because so when Slack was acquired by Salesforce a few years back, so then the actual vision was to use Slack as the front end of everything that we can configure in Salesforce, and you can see slowly and steadily we are moving in that direction only, where so there is a concept called work objects in Slack, which is similar to custom objects in Salesforce, but we can create the data model in Slack itself, right? And then so this training was focused on Agentforce. So as we have different SKUs for Agentforce for service sales, so we have one for Slack as well, and it can help you do a lot of things by going through the conversations in your channels and the files, and it can provide you with recommendations, and you have the similar level of configuration and customization scope here as you see in Salesforce. And you'll see in the near future that a lot of updates will come on Slack side as well, and which will enable you to gather a lot of information and take action directly from Slack on your CRM data and your records. Like, for example, if you have connected your Slack instance with CRM analytics and Salesforce, and you want to understand the metrics of customer churn from the last 6 months, for example, so then in the Slack Agentforce conversation workspace, so you can see the uh, dashboard and the report right in your conversation workspace without having to log in into your Salesforce or your analytics application. So this is just one of the small use cases that I just wanted to highlight and basically provide you a picture of what all we can see in the coming few months as well, because a lot of updates are being pushed out currently, and we'll see a lot more in the near future. So yeah, just wanted to take a few moments to talk about Slack and what like what is the path forward for that. So back to you, Rajiv.
Yeah, thanks, Rohan, and thanks for covering that up yesterday. I might have missed few things regarding the channel, so I'll quickly switch there because from a certification standpoint, there are certain things that you should be aware of, and wanted to cover that as well. So the same employee agent that we spoke about, since it is exposed in your Salesforce, like users who are within your Salesforce environment. You have certain topics as well, so I'll just quickly deactivate, and you should be aware of this. So I'll remove this and try to add it from the asset library. Since it is an employee agent and all security is taken care by Salesforce, there are like standard topics that Salesforce provides out of the box. For example, general CRM is one of them. As Rohan spoke about Slack, if you search for Slack, you'd be able to see all the topics that are related to Slack as well. So why these are getting exposed here is that the agent employee, so the Agentforce employee agent can be exposed in Slack as well. So for example, if your customers are like in your org, if you're trying to configure it, like if you have a Slack org, you have Salesforce org, you already have a connection, or you haven't connected it. Ideally, there is a connected app that there are standard steps that you'll be able to check it in the trailhead. Once that is done, you'd be able to introduce the same employee agent in Slack as well. So as an employee or as an internal user within your organization, they have same set of security as well as data access, where whatever questions, for example, if I have a file here, based on that, we have agent answering those questions. So instead of user logging into Salesforce, they can still have the same agent exposed in Slack, and they can ask those questions directly in Slack as well. So that is another use case. Coming back to the general topic, so I've just added general CRM. So this particular topic is managed by Salesforce, which has a number of instructions. More than that, there are actions, and all of these actions are out of the box, meaning that Salesforce understands that there are certain actions, no matter what it is, it will be the same across like all customer use cases, so they have kept it same. So from exam standpoint, at least go through the actions which are provided by Salesforce on general CRM. So there's a documentation, I'll probably post it in the chat right away. But you might have questions in terms of asking which topic gives you access to certain values, or let's say like what does identify object by name does, and you have a description of it as well. So at least go through all the actions that are out of the box which are added in general CRM. So again, like if you haven't joined us today's session, welcome to second day of Agentforce training. Again, like 60 questions, 73% is the passing score, and the exam has been realigned to summer 25 releases of Monday. So the new topic is multi-agent interoperability, and yeah, you have it until end of this month to take the exam. Just wanted to recap what we have seen is pretty much anything that is related to filters and variables, and we have looked at how the Agentforce reasoning engine works. We have looked at standard agent actions, custom agent actions, how does security work between employee agent and the service agent, various types of templates, and then the various channels. So I think I've missed out a few things, but I'll try to cover that as well. So again, if you check the weightage, we know it is 35, 20, 20, and 5, but it is 60 questions plus 5 uh, unmetered questions. So ideally, in this case, you can see the split that what we covered yesterday is the highest weightage, which means that you'll get close to 21 questions there. And we'll try to cover other topics as well. And I'll start with multi-agent interoperability because it's a new topic. So I wanted to cover that first. So we are working in Salesforce and we have Agentforce, and then like you might have seen customers have use multiple different applications. So they could use CRM applications like Salesforce. Other than that, they could have ERP systems or HR systems like Workday, and then like they might have separate systems for marketing. Now, every single organization or every single enterprise company is betting on AI, and they are introducing more tools every single day. So which means over a period of time, not very far, that every enterprise system will have its own AI, and users will interact with that particular AI in order for a job to be get done. But it would be hard for systems to maintain security, or let's say if a CRM application has to communicate with the ERP system to get some information, or to get information from HR system, it becomes little hard. And from an end user standpoint, let's say if you're going on a vacation, right now what you're doing today is like, let's say you're updating out of office in Salesforce, you're going to Slack, you're updating Slack with out of office status. If you're using Teams, you're updating it there. If you're using Google Calendar, then you're updating it there. So it is like in silos that you're updating the same information in multiple things, but think it in a way that you have only one agent that you're starting to have a conversation, and you're just telling the agent that I'm going on vacation from this day to this day, and this is my out of office message. Would it be cool that one agent is able to update all other systems? That is where interoperability comes into play. So this is critical because if in case there are, let's say, 5 different systems, and from a security standpoint or an integration standpoint, every single integration you'll have to create a connection, maintain it. If in case that you're maintaining the keys, you'll have to maintain it, which becomes much more hard for you to maintain. So that's where Anthropic introduced something called as model context protocol, which is nothing but MCP. Every AI agent will be able to communicate with each other's system using this protocol. So it's an open standard which was introduced by Anthropic, meaning that if in case that you want to connect any other external system, so let's say if Agentforce within like Salesforce wants to communicate with Oracle ERP, or let's say Workday HR system, they'll be able to directly communicate using this open protocol. So right now, if you look at every single system, you might go through the authentication process, or let's say you'll have to set up certain standards, and there are like security standards that certain system doesn't support. So that's where Anthropic introduced an open protocol where every AI agent would be able to communicate with each other with this particular protocol. Now, at the same time, what we have seen earlier in the use case is that I will interact with one agent, and that one agent has to interact with other agents. So for ideally, like let's say you're using ChatGPT, or let's say you're using Claude. If I just talk with Claude or ChatGPT and say that update all backend systems with the same message, or even do any particular action, that is where agent to agent protocol comes into play, where one agent is able to understand what is the context that you're talking about, and from there it will be able to take necessary actions on the related agents as well. So let's say ChatGPT is able to talk with Salesforce, ChatGPT is able to talk with Workday, and even with ERP systems, and it updates that action. So it acts as an overlay where it is able to communicate between like multiple agents. So MCP is again like it is a open vendor agnostic standard that allows like agent to connect with external tools. So this is the key where it is not communicating or trying to find information, rather than it is like inside out. So Salesforce is trying to access other systems data, where it is an open protocol. You'd be able to connect any other systems directly. Whereas A2A is nothing but agent to agent protocol, which was introduced by Google, where it has a plan, or you call it as an agent code, which is like a JSON format, where it will be able to know which are all the agents it has connected with and what is that each agent can do. And based on that, if you provide a task, it understands and then like executes that task on a related agent as well. So if I say that I want to update my ERP system, let's say in Claude, it will be able to understand that ERP system is nothing but Oracle ERP system. I have to perform these actions, and this is the keyword that I have to trigger. So that is what it will be able to do it, and that happens because of this agent card. And this is something that Salesforce played a vital role in terms of like developing it along with Google. And third thing is, now that you have seen that Agentforce is exposed to customer sites, but every customer wants their own UI, meaning that they want to customize it. So the difference today, what you have seen is that if you go to salesforce.com, you will see varieties of UI where Agentforce is exposed in different way. Whereas like if you try to do it, you'll not get the same experience, where you'll still get a standard enhanced chat or meow setup. So the reason behind that is that Salesforce has customized its own chat layer, and then providing various options to customer. So for that, how can we do it as a customer is via Agent API. So Agent API is nothing but API interaction. So it is outside, and meaning like you are using a custom application from that you're trying to access Salesforce Agentforce. So you can build a custom chatbot in terms of like UI interface. Like right now, let's say you want to schedule a booking. So in that case, you might have seen applications where they'll be able to provide inbuilt calendar within the chat interface itself. So those are the use cases where you see that you're building a chat interface as a customer, and from there you still want to use Agentforce as a, let's say, chat layer interface. That is when you use Agent API, and it will be able to like initiate a session, send messages, receive messages, and this all happens in real time. And this is like synchronous, so which means it is real time. And again, like it's the concept of like asynchronous and streaming messages. I'll go back to see if I've missed anything. So that those are the three things that are in the pipeline. And then like MCP is open beta right now, which means it is not available. Sorry, it is closed beta. So if in case that you need to explore it or need to use it within Salesforce, you need to reach out to account executive to get access to it. Apart from that, this is like native Salesforce MCP, but MuleSoft already has MCP that has been GA for a while. So that's another context there. Anything else? Yeah, just the differentiation between like these things, because like it is from Salesforce to outside. Here it is peer to peer or agent calling another agents, and agent API is like outside inside outside in, because you are having something custom and trying to access Salesforce here. And again, like how will this be exposed over a period of time is that you might have seen multiple partners, let's say like PayPal and any other system who has been integrated with Salesforce have already exposed MCP. So moving forward, when MCP is live, you'd be able to access all their MCP servers within like Agent Exchange. So which means you don't have to like configure it separately, or like let's say earlier you used to like install manage package, and in order to access it you might create connected apps and maintain all the security systems. That's like a wipeout after this moving forward, where once you have signed in with your Agent Exchange account, you'd be natively able to add all those actions directly from the asset library. So even here, like if I try to add a topic, you'd be able to see add from Agent Exchange. So which means like over a period of time, all MCPs will be available here via Agent Exchange. So you'll be able to natively integrate here. Yeah, that's pretty much about like MCP. Again, like if you see the weightage, it is 3 questions. So ideally, like you might get one for each topic, or uh, 3 questions, so 3 or 4 questions. So review it once. If you know the basics, then since it is not hands-on, that's why the weightage is less right now. Okay, so what I'll do is for next 30 minutes, I'll show completely everything within the hands-on part. Once that is complete, I'll switch back to the deck so you understand this better. So the next, okay, even before that, the next part I'll be covering is prompt engineering, which is again 20% of the weight. And then I'll go to the data cloud for Agentforce as well. So prompt builder is a way for you to like provide more context in terms of providing data and getting enough information from an LLM. So let's say if you're having records within Salesforce, for example, let it be a contact account or any other record within Salesforce. If in case that you don't have a prompt builder, what ideally you'd be able to do is that configure use a SQL query or something, and then like access all the records, set up ChatGPT or Gemini, and then connect it with it, and then like get a response from it. Again, like there are multiple security concerns that comes into play, because customer doesn't want to expose their data from Salesforce to external systems. So that is where Salesforce has unique features called as like Einstein trust layer, meaning that any data that gets passed from Salesforce to an LLM, the data can be masked. So which means we are not exposing customer data outside the LLM. And also they have zero retention policy, meaning that OpenAI has an agreement with Salesforce that none of the data that is comes from Salesforce gets stored in OpenAI, which means like they can't use that data for training at a later point. So those are the things. Again, the feature has evolved over a period of time, so you can see that there are attributes that you can enable, which means like if you have anything like name, email address, credit card number, or phone numbers within your data, while using prompt builder, all this gets masked, which means like there is a masking and demasking pattern. So if you have a customer name, it gets changed into like something else, and then like when it comes back, it gets replaced with an actual value. So that is helpful in terms of like an LLM model generating an answer without losing the context. Again, like this is classic that when you try to create a field, you'll be able to choose the compliance category. So this has also been enabled by Salesforce, that any of the compliance categories, if you have set it as a field level, then you can enable it. So by default, that gets masked as well. Along with that, when the response comes in, we all know like these are all generated content. So if there are like any toxic detection that happens, you'll be able to see that value stored within like Salesforce as well. Since these are the data that we are storing it in Salesforce, like your general storage is not actually enough to store all of this content. So that's why anything that is related to Gen AI, because like we are actually storing the data which is sent from Salesforce, and then whatever the response that comes from LLM, we are storing it in Salesforce. So our storage is not capable to handle any of those. So that's the reason that all of these capabilities are added into Data Cloud. So that's the reason that you might have seen questions, or like in general questions around like why do we need Data Cloud. That's because like you can't store all of these data within the Salesforce storage. So even for Gen AI features, when you're enabling trust layer, or you want to audit and analyze what all the things are happening within your org, you'll be able to navigate to Data Cloud and see all those values via reports and dashboards. Now, prompt builder is again a feature for us to like get more context. And again, like there are like various types of prompt builder templates. So ideally, important ones are like field generation, flex, knowledge answers, and record summary. And there are like multiple things, but these were there for like very long time, and I think your exam will focus on that. Other than that, you can just go through what all the things that are available in the documentation. Again, like this is evolving and everything has its own use case. So ideally, like if I choose field generation and if I choose a particular object, I have to choose a field because we are generating content and storing that on a field. And the catch over here, all field generation, is that you have to enable dynamic forms for that particular object. Only then you'd be able to access it. And if I switch to record summary, it is summarizing a particular record. So you'd be able to access a summary as well. So for example, if I give case summary and click on next, this is the builder where you'd be able to build it. And there are like multiple settings here. So if I click on template settings, you'll be able to see the template type. Always give description. And other than that, this is where you'll be able to choose which model that you want to use to like generate the response. So ideally, like this has been changing. So I can see that there are certain models which are deprecated by OpenAI, and it is called as like rerouter, meaning it is routing to a different model. But again, you'd be able to choose certain models because certain models outperform certain other models for certain use cases. And another key aspect is that multimodal, meaning that earlier when these models were introduced, it was just capable of analyzing text or reply via text. Now what we have capability is that it will be able to analyze the files as well. So if you have any attachments, files within that particular object, the LLM would be able to like analyze that as well. So that's one thing to keep in context, that whether that model supports the input type as PDF image and other things as well, which supports like multimodal. And the key aspect is token limit, meaning that all your data that you're sending is getting converted as token. So you might have seen use cases, or you might get to see an error that the token limit has crossed certain thing, because like this is the maximum token limit that it can handle. So let's say if I'm using a flow to like retrieve 1,000, or like let's say more than 150 records, I'm pulling in like the entire record, which means like it has way too much data, then it would hit the token limit. So always ensure that you're only pulling in necessary information. If it is not needed, then try to avoid it so that like you don't hit the token limit as well. And let's say I'll just say summarize the case, and I'll go to insert resources. So this is where you'd be able to see all the resources. So if you have any related flows or apex, you'll be able to see that. I'll come back to search sooner, but since this is created on a template type of like related to an object called case, I'll have access to the entire case here. So you'll be able to see all the fields, some of the related list and other things. But if you're adding related list individually, you can add up to only 5. That's the standard limitation. And Salesforce also introduced something called as record snapshot. So what record snapshot does is that the data within like this can change based on the user, the page layout that it is assigned to the user. So meaning this changes in terms of like the data getting accessed. So you could have like multiple page layouts, but you can assign only to one profile. So ideally, like if I go into a case record, I'm able to see all these details. So if I just click on save, and I'll just take the case number, and I'll click on preview settings where you can actually give a case number, and I can click on preview. So now what it does that I haven't given anything. This is not the right format to write a prompt, but I just wanted to showcase you here. So I just gave a record snapshot where it is able to pull in all the information. It will be able to pull in the related list as well. But the catch here is, let's say if I'm a different user who doesn't have access to certain other data, then I won't be able to see this as well. So the record snapshot works in a way based on the page layout assigned. So uh, along with the field level security as well. So if I, as a user, if I don't have access to certain fields, then it doesn't like pull in that data as well. So it treats it empty and then like ignores it. And then like you can see here that the case summary is different. But for example, if I quickly switch to a different model, my answer will be definitely different because each model treats it in a different way. So in order for you to like get a consistent response, so you can see that I changed the model and the response is completely different. So that's why like you will start to play around the prompts. I'll talk about like how to write better prompts from an exam perspective, and then like that is something that you'll have to consider. And let's say I'll just add something like act as a support agent and summarize this record. So the rule of thumb within like prompt builder is like the more the role play that you do with an LLM, it'll be able to like provide better response, so the whole response gets changed. So that's one thing. And let's say if I go back to the prompt builder, I wanted to talk about one thing specific. So let's say there are like standard out of the box templates which are provided by Salesforce. So let's say there is one called account summary. So you can see here like how to write a prompt, what all the things that you have to follow. All those are given as a standard guidelines. And again, like you can see here all together, they're just using record snapshot account, which we used as well. So this is like your best practice in terms of like writing prompts. But again, like if you're in case that you have to access certain fields, let's say I wanted to access the case number. So you can see here that input colon case dot case number, which the field value will be directly here. So this is a format that you should be aware of. So let's say if I introduce another field, you'd be able to see that it is input colon the object name dot whatever the field name is, and then like if there are custom fields, you'd be able to see that as well. Let me see. Yeah. So, and when it comes to permissions, let me save this and open my user as well. So as a admin user, if in case that you want to manage your prompts, you need to have something called as prompt template manager. Only then you'd be able to view and edit any of the existing prompts within the prompt builder, else you won't be able to see the prompt template feature itself. But as an end user, if in case, let's say I'm assigning these permissions to, let's say I want my sales users or other users to like use this feature, then I have to assign prompt template user permission set to the end users or the users within my org who needs to use this feature. So these two permission sets are like key in terms of like using it. And if I go back again, so there are like 4 primary things. One talks about like sales email. I don't know if I have access to it because let me quickly check. Okay, I don't have it. So there's a feature called sales email. So if you're on a lead record, there's a global action. When you use it, you'd be able to like send email. So that is one of the template. I haven't enabled Sales Cloud feature, so probably I'm not able to see it. And then we have seen field generation and record summary, and there's one more called flex. Now we have seen record summary, which is related to one particular object. Field generation is again like one specific object related field. So what happens if in case that I wanted to use unrelated objects? So that's when like the flex templates comes into play, where you'd be able to add up to like 5 different objects. It can be related, it can be unrelated. You'd be still able to like use it. And there is also a new option called free text, which means that it can be an input question, or you'd be able to add your uh, text there instead of like choosing a source here as well. So this is one. It can be like completely irrelevant objects, and you'd be still able to call this flex templates via Apex or flows. And then like let's say based on the output, you want to like give me 1 second. Okay, so you can also choose to get the outputs in different formats. So ideally, how we play with prompt template is that we can tell the agent to sorry, the prompt builder to return the response in JSON, and you'd be able to read that JSON format within Apex and update any of the records that you want as well. So that's where like the flex prompt templates plays a little out of the way custom than what Salesforce provides. So a lot of use cases can be developed via flex template. You just need to be aware that it can be used within like flows or Apex class or Connect API as well. Okay, so we have seen something called as, okay, one more thing. So this is a standard template. I can't save. The only option that for the standard templates that provides out of the box, the only option that you get it as save it as a new template. So which means you won't be able to see as an option called save as a new template. So that is only for custom, but any of the standard templates that Salesforce provides, you'll be able to only save it as a new template. So that is one thing that you should be aware of. What else did I leave here? Summary. Yeah, and ideally, like let's say you wanted to improvise this prompt, that's when like you can save it as a different version, or if in case that you want to save it a new template, that you can still do it. You can still utilize your existing prompt that you have saved, and you start with something scratch, and then like based on the feedback, you still save it as a new version and iterate over it. And only if you activate it, then only it will be available for customers to use it or your users to use it. Unless you activate it, they won't be still able to see that. Okay, I think rest all are kind of standard. Okay, now if you have seen this, there are like different templates, right? Like we have seen record summaries, and then one critical item is knowledge answer. So I'll just click on this to show you like what happens here. So this particular action is something that will be used across different agent in order for you to like answer your questions. So this is critical because you can see the instructions and you have something called as dynamic retriever. I'll talk about like what a retriever and other things, but this is a other action in general. If in case that you're uploading any files within your data library, or like let's say you have files within Salesforce, and based on that you wanted to answer any questions, that's when like you use this particular action. How do we do that is something needs a little more understanding, so I'll talk about it, but this is something that you'll have to review in terms of like exam. What it does is important here. Okay, so I'll quickly move to the slides so that I don't miss anything here. So again, the first thing that we have seen is that the trust layer. So you have similar to like your Salesforce audit feature, where you'd be able to see what each user has done in terms of like setup and audit trail logging. Similar to that, trust layer does all the audit trail logging within Data Cloud, where it would be able to see the toxicity detection as well. And then like grounding is an important point. That is something that we are able to provide more context to LLM model based on either Apex Flow or like directly record snapshots as well. So that is dynamic grounding. And before sending it to an LLM, we are masking the data as well. And if it is OpenAI, we have zero retention policy, which means the data is not getting stored. Once the response gets generated, we do a demasking. Along with that, we do a toxicity detection as well. So this is like the entire trust layer journey. And again, like if you just copy paste the data and ask it to summarize, it might not give you a better results. That's where like we are building prompts. So prompts are the way to give more business context into it. So you'll tell who for what use case that you're using that particular prompt template type, and then like you add more information, and then like you ground your prompt with the actual customer data, and then like this is dynamic. So let's say if there are 10 different sales users running the prompt on like different customers, everything is dynamic. Nothing here comes from like static or like the same thing. So that's why like it allows you to like give more personalized experience. And again, like we have seen two different permission sets. Prompt template manager allows for you to like view and manage your prompt templates. Anyone to use it, you need prompt template user. And here you can see that there could be like different business tasks, and each business task might have a relevant template. You can utilize it, or you can use the flex template to utilize it as well. And here you'd be able to still bring in like data cloud information, or like you have flow apex, you'd be able to still utilize all this. So when you are writing a prompt, this is where there are like three things which are important, like who are the participants, meaning who are the user that you're intending to write, what is your goal, and what is your relationship with that participant is like key. This is where like you kind of do a role play as well, in terms of like you're acting as a support agent, you are a sales user sending an email to customer. And the guidelines are like important in terms of like what all the things it has to do, in terms of like where it should limit itself, or what is the language style tone it has to use. And grounding is where like your real-time data comes into play, where like which objects that you want to ground. If it is not available out of the box, then you use Apex or Flow to like ground it. So what are all the grounding records that are available is like Salesforce records. As we have seen that you have something called a snapshot. Snapshot by default brings in all the related list on the page layout. But if you're manually adding it, then it is limited to only 5. And either you'd be able to bring in like Apex classes, or you'd be able to use still data cloud to DMO objects to be brought in here. And this is like an overview in terms of like what we have seen, like field generation and record summary. Service replies are the features that we have seen yesterday, that while you're on a live chat or messaging, you want like understand the context of the conversation, and you want a tool to like provide what should be the next response. So that is what service replies does. And sales emails are the way for you to like draft emails for your leads. Similar to that, we use Flex, unrelated objects and other things. Knowledge answers, we have reviewed it. And work summaries are specific to Service Cloud objects, where like once your case is closed, you want to summarize the whole case or chat or messaging session. That's when like work summaries comes, and these are out of the box. So Flex template is where like the additional capability comes, where you'd be able to bring in like additional flows and other things. I wanted to call out one specific thing, so I'll quickly go to flows and try to create a flow. So this is not your standard flow in terms of like bringing in data here. So there is a special flow type called template triggered flows. Only those flows are accessed within your prompt template, meaning that this flow type was introduced just for prompt template, where you'd be able to add your data. Along with that, you'd be able to let's say add context to that data as well. So this way, if in case that I want to bring in my account record or contact record, and a solid example is activities. For example, if you're on a account or contact record, activities is something that record snapshot can't bring in. That's like a limitation. So in that case, like I want to summarize my recent activities, then it won't be able to summarize it. So that's where you'd be able to like query a record. So you can use get record action and retrieve the activities and add it to the prompt instructions along with that instruction. So what happens is that dynamically it will be able to retrieve the records, and you'd be able to add this type of flows within the prompt builder. Only template triggered flows are available within the prompt builder to be accessed. So again, like as part of role play, you'll assign a persona, be explicit if in case that it has to perform step-by-step process. And there is something called delimiters. You might have seen Salesforce example here. They might have used specific characters. So one of them is like delimiters, where you provide an exact context, and this is like important. So you can just review the standard templates to see how it is built, and you can just try to replicate it as well. And again, like you will have to test it multiple times in order to ensure consistency. Again, like field level access security, which page layout is assigned to one user plays a critical role, because one user might get a different answer when compared to another user, so that's a key here. We have seen record. Okay, so like this is all related list, but again, like as I said, that activities are not supported because of its polymorphic usage, and global variables like user and organization are all not supported if in case that they are on related list, and you can add only up to like 5 related list within the template. We have seen that it is based on current users page layout, token limits we have seen, and dynamic forms are dependency in terms of using field generations. And one critical thing to know is that if someone goes and tries to create a new prompt template or edit a prompt template, that doesn't get tracked and set up audit trial. So that is something that you need to be clear of. Now we have seen one thing, which is just this answer questions with knowledge. This is where it becomes like super critical. I'll start with the diagram here. Once again. Okay. So what we have seen until now is that we have prompt template, which is able to like dynamically access data, and then that is all structured data. When I say structured data, it is stored in a database within Salesforce. So it is either rows or columns, or to an extent that you might be able to like store all the information in like long text area. But if you try to identify that information, the system won't be able to like search or provide any answer on it. So that's where like structured data is something that it has a structure and it is stored on a database. Whereas like, for example, all your email messages or any of the files that you upload within Salesforce in files and attachments, these are unstructured data, meaning that they don't have a structure. It can be anything. They don't have a definite format. Now, these are key critical information when an agent comes into play, because there could be hidden information in all these file items. So how do we extract all this information and help an end user have better answers? This concept kind of evolved from something called as RAG, which is retrieval augmented generation. So earlier we used to just get output as text, but over a period of time, we have identified AI models want to grab information from all these unstructured data, which was like hidden gem for answering most of the questions. So in take any example of any organization where they might have policy documentations, or let's say these are the things that you have to do, you can't do, this is what we support, we don't support. All these document, all this content is stored in document, and since it is unstructured, it is not directly stored as rows and columns, where we are not able to get that information. That's where RAG comes into play. So how do we get information out of it is a concept of RAG. How in general happens is, let's say I have a 500-page PDF documentation. The concept goes a little technical, but I'll try to explain it as simple as possible. But what it does is it reads the documentation in chunks, meaning let's say there's a chunk size. For example, I can say that read every 20 lines and chunk it as one paragraph. So let's say all 500 pages are read in terms of like 20 lines, and they are kept separately, which we call it as chunk. Now, as human, we understand all the English words, but computers can't understand it. So they convert all this text into something called as numbers, and they store it in terms of like embedded models. And this is where is a key differentiator, because it is not just the text, it also understands the context of it and then like stores it that way. And there could be like multiple things, because like each chunk is converted into numbers and they are get stored as embedded models. And it's like one-on-one mapping. So what is the chunk that we were able to see it in English is getting converted into embedded model, which is numerical representation. And since there are like multiple chunks here with the relationship with embedded models, we need some database to store it. So similar to like library database, where you have seen that you wanted to identify a book, you just find the book name, and then like you'd be able to know on which floor, which shelf that the book is hosted. Similar to that, a vector database is maintained, where it will be able to tell you that which similar to your textbook name. Here the input will be your customer question. So based on that question, it will be able to know which answer is relevant to it and from which chunk that it was able to retrieve the answer. So it returns that one particular chunk, and based on that, we'll be able to generate the answer. Now, there are two processes here, because like if I upload a 500-page documentation and then like expect the AI agent to like answer right away, it might not be possible, because it has to chunk, it has to do the embeddings and then like update it in the vector database. So this is a heavily uh, let's say offline job that needs to be performed. Only then I'll be able to like retrieve the answer. So we split it into two things. One is like offline job and online job, where offline job is just giving any documentation, it chunks it, turns into embedding models and store it in vector database. Whereas online is when dynamically, when out of nowhere, it can be any question. When a end user or a customer asks a question, the AI agent will be able to convert your question into an embedding model, which means the AI agent converts your text into numbers, identify which number maps, and then retrieve the answer. So the online job happens within your prompt template. So that's the reason that we have a prompt template called as answer question with knowledge, where when a customer asks a question, the question goes into this, where you can see this is the input here. This input is converted behind the scenes within the indexing and chunking models, where it converts that, finds the relevant chunk, and answers your question. So again, if you see that there could be multiple data sources we are ingesting, and all this happens within data cloud. So what happens is that there are something called as data streams that gets created, uh, and then it gets moved into data lake object. If you are like completely new into like all this headings, I have one more image which might clear you up. But ideally, like offline preparation is something that you are just unloading your data, where it is getting ingested, chunked, and until like the vector index table happens, until then this is an offline preparation. But customer's question can be dynamic or different every time. So that is like online, which is like runtime. Every question gets converted into similar vector embedding, and then like similar answers are found, identifies the chunk, and generates a response to you. So that's the difference between offline and online. So that's why like whenever you upload a file, it might take 5 or 10 minutes, because like all this happens behind the scenes. So yeah, so these are the objects that you can see that I can show it to you in a moment. But when I upload a file there's a feature called data library, where you'd be able to like ingest HTML files or PDF files. Once you upload the file, rest of the stuffs are like automated by Salesforce. That's an additional advantage. Else, or like what we used to do before data library, is manually do all these things, but this is all automated right now. So when you upload a file, in general, like structured data is created via DLO DMOs, but it is unstructured data. So it is unstructured data like object, unstructured. Ignore the terms. It was generated. The image was generated by LLM, so that's why that the mistake is. But UDLO is unstructured data like object, unstructured data model object. Now, once data modeling is done, that's when like the chunking begins, where you'd be able to see the whole entire PDF is chunked into various records, and these are converted into numerical representations, which are called as vector embeddings. Now these needs to be mapped, so that's where like we have something called a search index, which maps all your vector embeddings and chunking data. It's like a one-on-one relationship. So once this is indexed, this is what it does behind the scenes. And when you ask a question, it converts that response and tries to identify that information from search index. And in order for you to like access the search index, that is where we need something called as retrievers. So if you go into like, let's say if I try to save it as a new version here, this is where you'll see an option called search, and you can see something called as retrievers here. So retrievers are nothing but a tool that allows you to access the search index from the prompt template. So that's why like retrievers are used. Again, there are custom configurations that you can do at either the search index level or retriever level. But this tool earlier, this was Apex, but then like Salesforce wanted for us to like access this easily. So whenever you provide a question, it knows which retriever to access it. So you will see the retriever added here. Based on that retriever, we'll know which search index to search answer for, and based on the vector embedding, it will be able to like retrieve the closest answer and then find the related chunk and transfer it in a way how customer wants it. So overall, you can see here, I think I've spoken enough about like chunking, vectorization, and indexing. But what happens when customer says that, how do I reset a device? So this response gets added into your prompt template where there is a retriever. The retriever tries to identify that particular answer from the semantic search. What it does, it retrieves the answer and it will give you the exact chunk where it was able to provide the answer, and the LLM again rephrases the answer in a way how you asked a question. So if I asked a different question but it is on the similar context, my answer will be different, but the chunk that it is retrieved will be always same. So that's where the searching is far better. And pretty much any organization doesn't want to answer questions from like general Google search or uh, web search, rather than they want to answer all their questions from their company documentation. So that's where like this more concept of like RAG is more helpful, so that like all your answers are like more precise and accurate, and it is not something the AI hallucinates or tries to identify somewhere else. So again, you might have heard something like why Agentforce or like how does like Salesforce RAG is different than any other system. That's because there is something called hybrid search. So let's say if you go to Salesforce and search for a contact in a global search, for example, like if I search for my name or a contact, it will be able to find that record. That's because that is something called lexical search. So it finds an exact match based on your first name or last name and then like tries to identify that record. But there is something called vector search. Based on the question you ask any model, it understands or like it knows the semantic meaning of your question. Based on that, it will be able to like answer your question. So there are use cases where vector search is more helpful. There are use cases where keyword search is more helpful, but you'd be able to combine this together, and that is something called hybrid search. So where do you see hybrid search being more helpful is like, let's say I have a printer, I have a printer number. Based on that, I wanted to know the troubleshooting steps. But if I just say that here in the vector search, it will disregard my printer number because like it uses semantic search. It just knows that the user needs help in troubleshooting a printer, but doesn't consider the printer model. Whereas here, it will just try to if I use a keyword search, it will try to identify the printer number and try to show documentations related to it, but still it won't be accurate. So that's where hybrid search is used, where it combines the power of both vector search and keyword search. Whatever documentation it gets on both the results, it will be able to like rank it and score it. Based on that, it will be able to provide you an answer. So the only trade-off is that it is higher cost and latency, because uh, it is doing both the results and trying to retrieve an answer for you. So I spoke about something called Agentforce Data Library. This is where like this is automated right now. So if I go to Agentforce Data Library, you'd be able to see a standard setup from Salesforce. All you have to do is like create a new library, and then when you create a new library, you'd be able to choose whether it is related to knowledge articles or files. So if you have knowledge articles set up in Salesforce, or if you haven't enabled knowledge, so that's why I'm not able to see knowledge. That is one catch. But ideally, like let's say if I have files within my local system, it gets uploaded into Salesforce storage, and then like the backend process of like uh, creating UDMOs and then like chunking and everything happens behind the scenes. So this is kind of an automated way, but again, like it is fast and easy to set up, but it is related to files and knowledge, and there are like few limitations. Like there are certain file size only you can ingest it, and you can go through the considerations of this particular documentation in Salesforce. Whereas like you can still do all these manually. For example, let's say my files are in AWS or in a different system, I want to bring that files, you would still be able to do it. Just that you'll have to manually configure that in Data Cloud, where you get like more flexibility and then like granular control, because like it's an automated setup, meaning that the search index retriever, everything is automated, and you have like more customizable options when you do it via manual. So ideally, when do you use this versus this, is that ADL is something you would start with and then see if you're getting better answers. But if you see that you might need additional capability, or you wanted to like configure it in a different way and see how the prompt builder generates an answer, that's when like you go to a manual configuration and you'd be able to see how the answers differs. So we have seen that there is something called as retriever here, but it says dynamic retriever. So what is the difference between like what are like we have seen what is retriever? Retriever is able to generate or like find contact from the search index, but what is dynamic retriever? So we have like multiple kinds of retrievers. I'll just go here once. Yeah. So you have like different types of retriever, and what we have seen is something called as default retriever, meaning based on the data library within your agent. So if I go to my agent builder, you'd be able to see that I'll be able to add a data library. So dynamically, I can have like 10 different agents, but in the data library, I can have like different data libraries. So based on the data library that I've configured here, the related retriever ID will be dynamically sent. So which means that if I have 10 agents, do I have to create uh, 10 different actions? No, you can still use one actions, but you can use 10 different data libraries to map it against 10 different agents, just that the action can be dynamic, which means at the runtime, it knows which data library that you are using, and it dynamically passes that file ID to get the answer. Similar to that, as I said, that this is by ADL, which is like Agentforce data library. But if you want to like create it manually, that's when like custom retriever comes into play, where it is manually created and you have like more control over it. And there is something called default retrievers. Default retriever is something that whenever you create a new data library or anything that is standard out of the box that you try to create a data library, a default search index is also created. I think I misspoke. This is dynamic retriever, not default retriever. So default retriever is a concept that gets created for every data library that you create. So if I have created like 10 different data libraries here, then I'll have 10 different default retrievers for each of the data library. Whereas dynamic retriever is where I can still use only one actions, but map 10 agents with 10 different Agentforce data libraries here. And there's a new concept called ensemble retrievers. So let's say I have one file retriever, I have one case retriever, and I have one knowledge retriever. I want my agent to generate answers based on all these three things together. So ensemble retriever is nothing but combining different retrievers together. Again, like it ranks based on all three answers and provides only one answer. So it won't, your expectation is, let's say if I ask a question, I want my agent to search answer in knowledge, files, and then like case data within Salesforce. It will do all those, but the final answer will be whichever has a higher ranking. It will provide that answer. So that's when like ensemble retrievers are used. So these are the different types of retriever that you have it in the system. And yeah, so this is again, like I spoke about, like you have something called as UDMOs, and chunking is stored in chunk DMO, and index is stored in IDMO. And all these information can be fetched from your retrievers there. I would just need 2 more minutes so that I ensure that you can find all this information. So data streams is what I told about, like the file ingestion happening. So if I just search for file here, you'll see that there is a file record that gets created, which means my file was pushed from Agentforce data library to the data stream, and this is all automated. And data stream pushes all the data to data lake object. So if I go to data lake object, you can still see the file references here. So you can see the rag file UDMO. So this is what UDMO is, and similar to that, you'll be able to see the data model. Now I'll show you in the data explorer. From the data model, I'll show you how the file is. So you can see here something called as file UDMO. So the entire file is here. So if I just click on view, it will be able to show me the record of the file. I won't be able to open it, but you'll still be able to see the reference of that particular file. But if I just search for chunk here, you'd be able to see that the entire file, which is stored as a PDF, you can see all the contents here. So which means whatever file I've uploaded, it was able to like chunk it and show the data to me. Now, once the chunking has happened, I'll just search for files. You can see here there is a semantic understanding, and then like there is a vector embedding as well, and there should be an index. So this is how you'd be able to see it. Now, if I quickly switch to search index, so search index is the one that holds your reference between your chunk and then your embedded setting. So this is what builds the model between like which chunk is referenced to a particular vector embedding and how do I find that information is stored in search index. And if in case that you're pulling in more information, you can see that the status will be in progress. Only if it is ready, it will be able to like generate answers. If it is in progress, it won't be able to like provide you answers in this. So this is a key take, that always your search index has to be in ready status. If it is in progress, you won't get the answers. For example, if you have pushed more files, you want answers from the new files, then all you have to do is like click on rebuild, which means the model gets rebuilt. And once the model is complete, you would be able to show the response to the customer real time. And again, like here you have an option to edit it, where this is what I told, that there are like multiple options that you'd be able to choose in terms of like making it customizable. But what Salesforce does is out of the box, which is like highest way of like possible in terms of like retrieving the right results. But based on the use case, if you want to like create custom things, then you can still go out and like update it or create a new search index as well. And one other thing, the retrievers I spoke about, it is stored under a section called Einstein Studio and Retrievers, where based on the org that you are in, every time you create a data library, you'll see a default search index retriever. And when you click on the retriever, you'd be able to see that that particular retriever is linked to a particular search index. So this retriever is what I can have it accessible here in the search aspect of the resource. And you can see this particular file Agentforce library retriever available here. So if I ask a question here, and it will be, I have to give the retriever ID. So I'll just show you a quick thing. So I have a retriever ID here. I don't know if it'll work, but this is how like you test it. So let's say, what is Agentforce? Because all my documentation is about Agentforce. Okay, so I might have not added it. So give me 1 second. This is something again like you might have done as part of your setup. I'll just remove this and then like quickly see if this works. But all you need is just the retriever ID and your question. So this is what gets mapped against your agent when you add that action. So you can see here that so anything that you see in chunk is nothing but the data getting chunked. It is able to like generate the answers, and based on the highest score, because there could be multiple chunks, but based on the question which has the highest score, then you'd be able to see this information as a response. So this is what you get it in the agent response as well. So there was one question about like dynamic retriever. Dynamic retriever is something that is provided by Salesforce. You won't be able to like add a dynamic retriever to a custom prompt template. So that is something that you'll have to keep in consideration. Only the templates that you clone from standard templates, which is like out of the box or whatever Salesforce provides, only there you'd be able to have a dynamic retriever configuration, which is like an automatic configuration. Sorry, dynamic is here. I don't know why I'm getting confused between these two. So if I just revert back to the original version, which is like standard, let's see, you'd be able to see the dynamic retriever. This is like out of the box. You can't try to add a dynamic retriever in your custom templates. That is something that you should be, I don't know if they have added it. I can check on this because earlier it wasn't there. I can check on this and let you know if this is available in custom templates or not. I can answer you that tomorrow. Cool. I know we are about time, but pretty much I've tried to cover to keep it simple. But again, like we have one topic left, which is like deployment lifecycle, and we'll have quiz tomorrow. So be ready for it and try to join that quiz just to see how much you have understood, or if there is anything. By this time, you might have known about like the LinkedIn group. So join there, and then like if you have any questions, you can post your questions there as well. Shreya,
Yep.
Rohan, any questions that you
Yeah,
wanted to
thank you
answer?
so much, Raji. We do have a
Lot of
couple
things
of
to digest for all.
yes.
And I think what will be really helpful is if everyone goes back, goes through the trailhead links, try to get more information, dig in through the subjects that Rajiv has covered, and come back with your questions tomorrow. I think that will be really helpful for all of us from a learning perspective. Rajiv, there are a couple of questions that have been asked. Do you want me to go through them quickly, or
Yeah, yeah,
you
sure.
want to take
Sure,
them
sure,
up
sure.
later on?
We can take it right now. I don't know
Sorry,
if
I'm
it
not.
is
Sorry.
way too much of time. We can answer it tomorrow because it's already 8 minutes above what we have told, right?
Yeah, that is true. I think we have 4 or 5 questions because. So what I'll do is I'll just quickly make a note of them and then let's take them up tomorrow then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sounds good.
Yeah, so we can keep some time for tomorrow in which we can take all the questions for today and tomorrow. And tomorrow we'll see a lot more uh, uh, people joining in, and we'll share a new link that will be working for everyone. Right.
Sure, sounds good. And
Yeah.
for the PPT and the recordings, we will be sharing those soon. So rest be assured that you will get the recordings and the material which Rajiv has gone through. So to help you guys prepare better for the exam.
Yep. And
Okay.
thank you so much. So we'll see you all tomorrow, and we'll continue
Rohan, you
with.
wanted to
Yeah.
also share the link right away in this chat group. You were mentioning that because team has been facing some challenges joining. So,
Mhm.
or do you want me to email them and then again come back with a response saying that these many people haven't been able to join or something?
No, no.
How do you want to go about that?
Yeah. So for that, Shreya, like I already got this one that a few people are not able to join tomorrow's link. So I'll
Ah,
create
okay,
a
okay.
fresh one,
New
and
link.
and
Sure.
that would work because and so that can reach a wider audience by
Makes
your
sense.
email. So we
Fine.
can do that.
Sure. So I'll send that out once you create a new link then for tomorrow.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Sounds
also
good.
like so just one last thing from me. So I know it's like some of the people are saying that it's a little too much to digest. So I think like once you start to get in the groove and start doing by uh, yourself, so then you'll actually understand the concepts, because like since these topics are very vast, so Rajiv is trying his best to cover everything, but unless you do it by your own hands, and you configure the agents, prompt templates, and the data 360 pipeline RAG, so you may not get like the whole context of what it's being talked about. So just start doing things in your orgs as well, so that will be helpful.
That is very true because unless you do it, it will be all theory for you, right? So make sure that you are doing the super badges, you are doing the trailhead badges for Agent Blazer, Legend, Innovator, and Champion so that you can understand all these concepts. And obviously, this is more of a guidance session that Rajiv is giving us. It is up to us to make sure and make the most out of all of this, right? By doing the hands-on. So thank you so much all for joining today. Rajiv, Rohan, are we good to
Yeah,
close
yeah,
then?
we are good. We are good, and we are
Yeah.
Great,
already
great.
over. So yeah.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you very
Thank
much
you
all.
so much for
Thanks a
joining.
lot.
We'll
Thanks,
continue
Rajiv. Bye.
Thank
tomorrow.
you.
Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye.